All right, so welcome to the deep dive. We love to dig into those really fascinating intersections of familiar tech and cutting edge concepts.
Yeah.
And today we are diving headfirst into Cyberfly IO.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I have heard of Cyberfly IO.
Okay, cool. So for our listeners, this is an open source platform,
Right.
and they're using blockchain to kind of shake up the way we think about the whole Internet of Things.
Yeah.
It's like Raspberry Pi meets decentralized networks.
Okay.
Does that sound intriguing?
Yeah, that's a really cool way to think about it.
Cool. Okay, so we've got a ton of materials straight from Cyberfly, their website presentations, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
And we're going to unpack how they're making blockchain work for everyday devices, the stuff we use all the time.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's so fascinating about Cyberfly to me is that they're really tackling a very specific pain point in the IoT space,
Okay.
which is security.
Okay. Yeah.
Traditional IoT setups, they rely on central servers.
Yeah.
And, anybody who's ever spent any time thinking about cybersecurity knows that a central server is essentially a honeypot for hackers.
A single point of failure.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
single point of failure. And that's where Cyberfly, I think, is really onto something interesting because they're building on the Kadena blockchain, which allows devices to communicate directly with each other.
Okay, so we're cutting out the middleman.
Cutting out the middleman, eliminating that single point of failure.
Gotcha. So no more central server?
No more central server.
But how does that actually translate into better security?
So it's not just about eliminating that single point of failure.
Okay.
Kadena uses something called chain web. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Okay. So chain web is this really fascinating technology. It's a network of interwoven blockchains,
Okay.
all working in parallel.
Okay.
So that means that you've got multiple layers of security,
Yeah.
making it incredibly difficult for an attacker to compromise the system.
So it's like a security system with multiple locks, each one using a different mechanism.
It's like Fort Knox for your data.
That's a really cool analogy. So it's not just decentralized, it's also incredibly resilient.
Very resilient.
So this isn't just theoretical, right?
Yeah.
Cyberfly has actually built a working platform with real features.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things I think they've done a really good job of is focusing on user experience.
Okay.
They have a user-friendly interface for managing your devices.
Okay.
A built-in wallet for handling your CFLY and KDA tokens.
Okay.
And even seamless integration for popular devices like Raspberry Pi and ESP32.
Nice.
So, even if you're not a blockchain expert, this is designed to be something that you could pick up and use.
Speaking of CFLY, that's their native token, right?
It is.
What makes it so special?
Well, aside from powering the entire Cyberfly ecosystem,
Okay.
they've got this really unique token burning mechanism.
Okay, I've heard of token burning. What's going on with that?
So every time somebody registers a device on Cyberfly and your first device is free,
Oh.
but every time you register a device after that, 50% of the CFLY tokens that are used to pay for that registration
Okay.
are permanently destroyed.
Wait, they're just deleting their own tokens.
They are?
That seems counterintuitive.
It does.
Doesn't that devalue the whole system?
Well, on the surface, it might seem that way,
Yeah.
but it's actually a very clever strategy to control inflation
Okay.
by reducing the overall supply.
Got it.
They're creating scarcity,
Right.
which can potentially increase the value of each remaining token.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. Think of it like limited edition sneakers. The fewer there are in circulation,
Yeah.
the more valuable they become.
And more people want them.
Exactly.
That's a really interesting approach.
Yeah.
So they're essentially incentivizing early adoption
Yeah.
and controlling inflation at the same time.
At the same time, two birds, one stone.
I like it. But where's the money in all this for Cyberfly?
Yeah, good question.
How does this whole thing actually sustain itself?
So their business model is actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Remember how I said the first device registration is free?
Yes.
For every device after that, users pay a fee in CFLY tokens.
Gotcha.
Half of that fee gets burned.
Okay.
The other half goes into a treasury,
Okay.
which is used to fund ongoing operations and development.
So it's like a self-sustaining ecosystem where users contribute directly to the platform's growth.
Exactly. It's a very elegant model.
That's pretty cool. But what about the technical side?
Yeah,
We know they're using the Kadena blockchain,
they are.
but why Kadena specifically?
Right. There are tons of blockchains out there.
Yeah.
So why did they choose Kadena? Well, there are a few reasons.
Okay.
First, Kadena has this really interesting hybrid architecture.
Okay.
It combines public and private blockchains,
Right.
offering both security and scalability.
Okay. That makes sense.
And second, their packed smart contract language is very user-friendly,
Okay.
making it easier for developers to build on the platform.
Okay. But let's be honest, even user-friendly smart contracts can be a headache for the average person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are they expecting everyone using Cyberfly to be a coder?
That's a really good point, and thankfully the answer is no,
Okay.
because Kadena has this really cool feature called gas stations.
Okay.
You heard of
I
this?
haven't. What is that?
So with gas stations, transaction fees can actually be paid by third parties.
So I, as a user, wouldn't have to worry about gas fees.
Exactly.
That could be a barrier.
Huge barrier to entry in other blockchain ecosystems.
Right.
And Kadena has basically eliminated that barrier.
So Cyberfly could potentially be completely free to use?
Potentially,
Yes. Wow, okay, that's a huge advantage.
it is.
Speaking of advantages we hear, Cyberfly is also leveraging Flux,
Yes.
which is all about decentralized cloud infrastructure.
Right.
What role does Flux play in all of this?
So that's a great point. And by
Mm.
integrating with Flux, Cyberfly gets access to a decentralized network of nodes for data storage and processing. This enhances their scalability and resilience even further,
Got it.
ensuring that the platform can handle growth and resource demands.
It's like having a safety net for your decentralized application.
Exactly, a safety net built on decentralization.
I love it. So we've got a secure, scalable platform
We do.
built on a robust blockchain
Yes.
and supported by decentralized cloud infrastructure.
That's right.
That sounds pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive.
But how does this actually translate into real-world applications? What can you actually do with Cyberfly?
That is the question, isn't it? And that's where it gets really exciting.
All right, so stay tuned because we're going to dive into that in the next part of our deep dive into Cyberfly IO.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. We are knee-deep in Cyberfly IO, and now that we've got a handle on the tech, let's get into what this platform can actually do in the real world.
Yeah, let's get practical.
Yeah, I'm picturing like smart homes, self-driving cars, maybe even robots doing our chores. Am I getting close?
You're definitely on the right track. The potential applications are pretty vast, and Cyberfly really provides a toolkit, almost,
Okay.
for people to build those applications.
Yeah.
But let's start with something a little closer to Earth.
All right.
Let's talk about agriculture.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So imagine a network of sensors deployed across a farm,
Okay.
constantly monitoring soil moisture temperature, even nutrient levels.
Okay, so we've got all this data coming in. What do we do with it?
That's where Cyberfly's rules engine comes in.
Okay.
Farmers can set up these automated responses based on that real-time data.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, if the soil moisture drops below a certain threshold, the system could automatically trigger irrigation,
Oh, very cool.
optimizing water use and ensuring that crops get exactly what they need.
So no more wasted water, healthier crops, and potentially higher yields.
Exactly.
Got it.
Those are some of the big benefits.
That's pretty impressive. But what about something with a little more zoom?
A little more zoom.
Okay.
How about smart cities?
Okay, yeah.
So think traffic management systems that can adjust signal timings
Okay.
based on real-time traffic flow to reduce congestion and emissions.
Wow.
Or imagine smart grids that can dynamically balance energy supply and demand,
Okay.
making renewable energy sources more viable.
That's a whole new level of efficiency.
It is.
And it's all powered by a network of devices communicating securely through Cyberfly.
That's the key.
This is starting to feel like the future we were promised in sci-fi movies.
We're getting there.
I'm so here for this. It's not just about large-scale applications, right?
No, it's not.
Cyberfly can also revolutionize the way we manage our homes.
Absolutely.
So we're finally getting to those robot butlers I was hoping for.
Not quite butlers.
Okay.
But think about a home where your lights adjust automatically based on ambient light levels.
Okay.
Your thermostat preheats the house just before you arrive.
Oh,
Your security system sends alerts directly to your phone.
nice.
And it's all managed through this really user-friendly interface on your phone.
That sounds amazing, but also potentially expensive.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Are we talking luxury smart homes only? Or can regular people get in on this action?
So that's the beauty of Cyberfly, I think.
Okay.
It's designed to be accessible.
Okay.
Remember those gas stations we were talking about earlier?
Yes.
They could play a huge role in making smart home automation affordable for everyone.
Okay, cool.
Plus, Cyberfly's open source nature
Right.
means that developers can build and share applications,
Yeah.
fostering this really cool community-driven ecosystem
Right.
that's constantly evolving.
So it's not just a platform, it's a community, a movement even.
I like that. Yeah, movement.
We've talked about farms, cities, homes. Are there any industries that Cyberfly isn't trying to disrupt?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, fair.
There are definitely challenges to consider.
Right.
But I think with Cyberfly's focus on security, scalability, and user-friendliness.
Yeah.
They're positioning themselves to make a significant impact.
Okay.
They're even exploring how their technology can be used to manage electric vehicle charging stations, optimize supply chains, and even track the provenance of goods,
Okay.
all on this secure, decentralized network.
So potentially revolutionizing everything from how we get around to how we shop.
It's a big vision.
It's clear that Cyberfly is aiming high.
They are.
But with all this talk of interconnected devices and data sharing, what about privacy concerns?
That's the big one, right?
Yeah. Are we sacrificing our personal information for the sake of convenience?
That's a crucial question, and that's actually one we're going to address in the final part of our deep dive.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
A little bit of a cliffhanger.
All right, so stay tuned because we're going to come back and we're going to unpack the privacy implications of a blockchain-powered IoT and explore how Cyberfly balances the need for connectivity with the right to data ownership and control.
It's going to be good.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our Cyberfly IO deep dive, and we've covered a lot of ground from token burning to smart farms, but there's this big question hanging in the air.
Yeah.
What about privacy?
It's a big one.
It is.
When everything's connected and data is flying around, how does Cyberfly actually protect our personal information? It's the elephant in the room with any IoT platform.
Yeah,
But remember, Cyberfly is built on the principle of decentralization.
right.
That means there's no single entity hoarding all your data.
Right, like those massive tech companies we all know and sometimes love.
Exactly.
Okay, so no giant data centers filled with our personal info.
Right.
But is the data still out there somewhere?
It is, but in a much more secure way.
Okay, how does that actually work?
Think of it like a distributed network,
Okay.
kind of like a blockchain itself.
Okay.
Your data is spread across multiple nodes,
Okay.
making it much harder to access without proper authorization.
So it's like hiding the pieces of a puzzle.
Exactly. And
Uh-huh.
here's the key part.
Okay.
Cyberfly puts you, the user, in control.
Okay. Control in what sense? Like, what can I actually do with my data on Cyberfly?
You get to decide who can access it,
Okay.
how it's used, and even revoke access if you want.
So it's like having a digital vault with multiple keys.
It is your data. You own it.
Okay, I like that.
They've also built in some additional privacy-enhancing features like data encryption and anonymization.
So they're not messing around.
They're not messing around. And they've even consulted with legal experts
Oh, wow.
to make sure they're compliant with existing and emerging data privacy regulations.
So they're not just throwing a bunch of tech together and hoping for the best. They're actually thinking about the ethical implications.
Absolutely. They're taking a very holistic approach.
But let's be realistic. Cyberfly is just one platform in a sea of devices and services.
Right.
How do we ensure that all these different systems can actually talk to each other?
So you're talking about interoperability,
Yeah.
which is a huge challenge in the IoT world.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where your Cyberfly-powered smart home can't communicate with your smart car or your fitness tracker.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for frustration.
Yeah, and missed opportunities.
Absolutely.
So what's the solution? Is Cyberfly just a walled garden, or are they thinking bigger?
They're definitely thinking bigger.
Oh.
Remember their integration with Flux for decentralized cloud infrastructure?
Yes.
That's a key step toward broader interoperability.
Okay.
Flux promotes this very collaborative environment
Yeah.
where different decentralized applications can connect and share data seamlessly.
So it's like building bridges between different islands of technology.
It is.
And since Cyberfly is open source, anyone can contribute to making those bridges even stronger.
Exactly. It's a community effort.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the tech, the possibilities, the challenges, but let's step back for a moment and think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What kind of future is Cyberfly building towards?
I think they're envisioning a world where technology empowers individuals, not corporations. A world where we have more control over our data, our devices, and our digital lives.
It's a future where we're not just passive consumers of technology, but active participants in shaping it.
Exactly. Co-creators of the future.
And with its focus on security, transparency, and user control, Cyberfly is laying the groundwork for that future.
I think so.
It's a vision worth getting excited about.
Absolutely.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this deep dive into Cyberfly IO. We've covered a lot of ground from the nitty-gritty of blockchain to the far-reaching implications of a decentralized Internet of Things.
We have.
Hopefully this has given you a better understanding of what Cyberfly is all about.
Yeah.
and sparked some ideas about how this technology could shape the future.
It's really just the beginning.
If you're eager to learn more, check out the links in the show notes.
Yeah, good stuff down there.
You'll find Cyberfly's website white paper and even a link to their testnet,
Oh, yeah.
where you can get hands-on with the platform.
Very cool.
And as always, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, happy diving.